Now, over the weekend, Ukraine's ambassador to South Africa made an impassioned plea via social media, saying that our government has not reached out to her since the invasion began in February. Responding also on social media, spokesperson for our Department of International Relations, Clayson Moniela, said the Ukrainian ambassador is not only wrong, but also undiplomatic. He says that since March, she's held meetings with several diplomats in South Africa and the President's international relations advisor, and that there's a long-standing request for our President to speak to the Ukrainian President. Well, I'm joined now by Ambassador Lyubov Abravitova. Ambassador, good evening. Thank you for your time. So you said on social media you've not had any requested meeting with South African government officials since end of February. The department is contradicting you. I know that today you met with Zane Dangor, the DG, but Clayson Moniela completely contradicting what you're saying. So who's speaking the truth here?
I don't think that we have to look now at those accusations that Mr. Moniela is allowing himself towards Ambassador of Ukraine, and let him give some time to find out from his own department what requests I'm talking about. And for our viewers, to make it absolutely clear, the embassy made a number of official requests to meet the representatives of government. And I speak about ministers and deputy ministers. And we never received any feedback. And I was speaking about that, as you know, already since the beginning of invasion. Every time when you were asking me if we had any requested meetings with the higher representatives of the country, I was replying that we're still awaiting for that. The reasons why we are putting these requests one after another are very different. And initially it was a request, of course, to meet the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the President himself before the invasion started. And we've seen Russian military build up on the borders of Ukraine. We requested the meeting with the Minister of Defense and Veterans, and we never received the reply on that. So as soon as the situation unfolding, we're requesting different ministers to see us. As soon as we have the humanitarian crisis, catastrophe, we are asking for the meeting with the Ministry of Home Affairs to discuss with them the refugee issue and some consular issues. So it's a whole spectrum of the topics that we need to do.
So let me jump in there. Let me jump in very quickly, because I want to show our viewers the two separate tweets. So you basically said that our government has not reached out, so in other words, responded to those, you tried to get a meeting with those various ministers, but you said our government has not reached out. Clayson Moniela then said, you're wrong and undiplomatic, and he mentions meetings with diplomats, the international relations advisor. You're obviously saying that actually you were talking about meeting with ministers. You didn't make it clear in your tweet, but I think the real big issue is that you've been called undiplomatic by a spokesperson for our Department of Foreign Affairs. You do feel, and you stick by what you say, that you haven't been granted an audience with those ministers. I have to ask you if you feel that what Clayson Moniela has said is unfair, and whether you feel you are being shunned by our government.
No, I don't feel it. Being a professional and career diplomat, all my struggle now is directed to two things. First one is to stop Russian aggression in my country, and second one is to keep base and continue to grow relations between Ukraine and South Africa. So all the provocations or accusations that are coming in terms of my professional abilities, if you mean this, I think must be considered by my government. And as soon as my government feels that I'm still helpful in South Africa, that's not, unfortunately, to someone else to discuss it. But I must assure you that being an ambassador, a representative of my president here, I'm doing all possible to continue the dialogue between Ukraine and South Africa. And yes, South African president requested the telephone discussion with my president, and we are working on that. And in order to make this discussion substantial and efficient for both countries, we need to have a stable and constant dialogue, constructive dialogue with the government. And that's why, yes, maybe it was the very harsh measure from my side to put it on the social media, but I believe it was the that step that at least attracted attention.
Yeah, I mean,
Even
it sounds like, sorry to jump in, it sounds like you wanted to get attention, and you were pushing for that because you, as you say, you want Ukraine-South Africa relations to stay strong. Can you give us any update on what transpired from your meeting with the DG, Zane Dangor, today? I saw that you posted that just a few hours ago. How did that meeting go? Can you give us any update on when President Ramaphosa and President Zelensky might chat?
Yes, it was a very constructive meeting, and I appreciate that Director General, being only 1 week in the office, officially found time to see me today. And I would not put it in the connection with my tweet. From what I heard from him, he was having an intention to meet with me. Interestingly, the ambassador of South Africa in Ukraine was also attending the meeting. That gave us a lot of opportunities really to brief the Director General on what work has been undergoing before Russian aggression started, and what efforts we put together to bring Ukraine and South closer. We did discuss the political dialogue. We did discuss the substance of the talk between the future talk between both presidents, and as soon as my president will be available, definitely the presidents will talk. It is important. South Africa, I continue to say, South Africa is a very important partner for us.
Yeah. You also posted a very powerful video message, and you say that we need to make sure, and you were speaking generally, that we are on the right side of history. South Africa, of course, has chosen to remain neutral in this matter. Do you think that decision places our country on the wrong side of history?
No, not the decision of neutrality. I mean another thing. When in your family, for example, someone commits crime, whether it's your child or your parent, you call the crime a crime. So I believe that even being neutral, we still can accuse violations of human rights. We still have to speak about the democracy, about the freedom of speech, freedom of expression. This is something that I believe can still be done, even if the country, any particular country, is choosing to be neutral. And we heard the Minister's Pandor reply to the questions last Friday during the briefing, and she clearly mentioned why the position of neutrality has been chosen. And I'm
sorry, we seem to have lost that, but we did certainly get the gist of what Ukraine's ambassador to South Africa, Lyubov Abravitova, has been telling us, that she made that social media plea because she had actually requested meetings with a number of our ministers. So even though Clayson Moniela replied and said, well, she was actually wrong because there'd been meetings with advisors, etc., what she was referring to was a desperate need to speak to our Home Affairs ministers and others. So hopefully some good news in terms of talks, especially between Prime Minister or President Zelensky and our President.